Right, so let's try and get into the business for today as we talk about the spirit of leadership. So I'll just switch my screen. I may not necessarily show my screen today, but I'll just, want to talk to us face to face as we really go through this together. The spirit of leadership, and I've titled it. I've given it a subtitle, which is cultivating your the spirit of leadership within you. Now, when I say the spirit of leadership, let me just quickly put out a caveat that we're not talking about the Holy Spirit or spirit as we know it in a religious sense. Right? We're talking about something entirely different, which we'll be getting to see. Now, while preparing for this broadcast, a few questions came to mind. And the first one is really this, that why don't people grow from following to leading? Why is it that when you look at certain parts of the world, you tend to see people, uh, I mean, the whole populace, nearly everyone in the population, are just really uh, following and really not stepping up to take responsibility for positive change in their environment. So why don't people change even when they've been trained, when training has gone on over and over? Why don't people change in spite of such uh, helpful and vital input? And the third question would be, when does a person transit from being a follower to being a leader? When does a manager become a leader? And of course, we know that management is not leadership. Very simply, management is really helping to maintain systems and structures and organization, whether that's a corporate organization or even our private ones, including our homes. But leadership is different. Leadership really is setting direction, is ability to lead through a vision that brings change, not just for the person, but for other people and the environment. All right. Now, why don't people transit to leadership? These are questions that sometimes bog the mind, and you wonder what the answers could be. Now, one of the things that has come to mind is that perhaps the answer lies in the ability to cultivate the spirit of leadership. Now, in talking about the spirit of leadership, let's be aware that there is also the leadership spirit, which everyone comes to earth with. Now, let me explain that. If you look at every human being, I mean, I have spiritual persuasions, and I believe very much in God. I know that let them have dominion was said, was spoken to all of the Adamic race. So everyone comes with the leadership spirit. The leadership spirit has to do with the nature of the human. The nature of the human is that which is prepared to rule, to dominate, and to bring change in the environment. So everyone has a leadership spirit, but not everyone has the spirit of leadership. And I'm not talking about, the Holy Spirit coming on someone to give him ability to lead. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about attitude. So the spirit here, you remember, if you have such that background, you remember the story of two gentlemen who were sent out to spy out a land that they would be taking over, and it was the man by the name Caleb, and in that passage, it was said that Caleb had a different spirit. Now that spirit, what I was talking about there, what I was talked about there is attitude. That man had a different persuasion, he had a different attitude, he had a different mentality. So I would like to lay it very quickly here that the secret to change lies in cultivating the attitude of the mind. The secret to change lies very firmly in cultivating the attitude of the mind. Shortly, I'm going to tell a story which will bring this home. Now, you could have someone who has been, sometimes when you watch individuals and you see how transformation happens to their lives, you see someone who has been almost downtrodden and has been at the mercy of life affairs, and then some kind of input comes along, and you see that person almost imagine on the other side as a totally different person, you know, totally different from what he used to be or what she used to be. So that's what I'm talking about. Now, what separates a leader from followers is the way the leader thinks. In other words, the mentality of the leader is really what distinguishes a leader from followers. Now, leaders learn to think differently in spite of the prevailing environment that they find themselves. Now, I would like to say this that most of us, in fact, nearly all of us, in fact, every one of us is a product of our cultural environment, our history, and our education. So, culture has shaped us. Our history have a lot of bearing on us, and the education, the people, and the systems that have input into our mind, they actually shape what we eventually become in life. Okay, now is that is that finite? Is that is that final? Um, is that process? Is it changeable? Is it controllable? Is that something that we can do about it? Okay, so I want to ask a question. What in your mind produces change? When does a person begin to change? What brings change in the life of an individual? And it seems to me that you only change when your thinking changes. You know, I will also probably just refer quickly to a story I read in scriptures. There's this gentleman who was on an adventure. He had left home and he wanted to forge a life for himself. Now, nothing really is wrong with that. I mean, every father, every parent wants to see their children really um, taking charge and becoming the very best that they can be. So nothing is wrong with that willingness to really go on an adventure and take charge of your destiny. But the issue was more of mismanagement. Now this young man was in a dire situation until a time when he changed his thinking. So you only change when your thinking changes. Now, as I said the other time, our current, the attitude that we have now, the mentality, the way we see life, our philosophy of life is actually the result of our history, our culture, and our education. I want to tell a story very quickly about um, a situation that happened many years ago in Harare in Zimbabwe. Now, so this is a kind of very remote village there in Zimbabwe. And the story actually was told to my mentor when he went um, to speak on leadership in that part of the world. Now, the story was told that there was once a time when a farmer, who also practices hunting, went out and he had a kind of noise. I mean, like the like almost like a cat-like voice sound. And by the time he turned to see, it was actually a lion cub. All right. Now, when this farmer saw it, immediately he was afraid because if the lioness, the mother of this cub, was around, then this man, I mean, he simply knew that that would be the end. So he hid himself, stayed away for a bit, looked around for several minutes, even hours, until he saw no trace of the lioness, the mother of this cub. So he summoned up courage, went for the cub, took it, and brought it home. And he began to nurse this cub. Incidentally, this man, of course, as a farmer, he reared a lot of sheep and goats. So he began to nurse this cub within the environment of the sheep and the goat pen. Now, when this lion began to grow, the lion knew nothing except sheep life and goat life. So the lion thought it was a goat. He thought it was a sheep. So the shepherd will go around, to when the animals want to graze or to drink some water, we go around and the lion will drink water with the sheep. It would just patrol the field with the sheep and with the goats. Now, apparently, because the environment in which the lion found itself began to really bear on his mind, the lion saw itself no different than sheep and goat. Right. Now, on one of such days, as they were grazing, a lion came for one of the sheep. And of course, the lion growled, roared, with a voice that terrified not just the sheep, but also this lion. So everyone took off. The lion, the goat, the sheep took off. Now, of course, the lion was a bit confused. What was that beast? That was a terrifying look. Wow. Well, I just must not encounter this beast. Now, several days later, the farmer decided to move all of his livestock away from that environment because he was losing his livestock. So now, as they were grazing, and the lion strayed off to a place just to drink some water. As the lion looked into this with water, it saw its own reflection, and straight away the lion was terrified, thinking he had seen that beast that came for the sheep the other time. Now, the lion ran for safety, but then the sheep kept on grazing like nothing ever happened. And the lion was wondering what really is going on. Didn't they see this beast that I just saw? Well, anyway, the lion, of course, test nature came calling again, and he still had to drink. Now, but this time something different happened. As this lion was drinking, he just lifted up his head, and there it was before him, the beast that had taken the sheep. Now, the only difference here is that the lion could not run because this beast was very close to the lion. So the lion thought, well, today must be it. I think today I'm going to be meat to the beast. Right. Now, but the beast kept coming towards the lion and made no move to attack the lion. Now, it was as if the beast was nudging this young lion to say, look, I think we are relatives. I think we're family. I think you have what I have. Now, the lion seemed insistent and was growling. There's a way lions make a call when they want to bring other lions together. So it was making this call to this lion, but this lion was just looking, and it was beginning to get the message, but the problem is it could not roar just yet. So this beast became insistent, almost to a point of irritation. And now the lion got the message and he thought, okay, I think the only way to escape this menace is to actually roar today. So the lion made the first attempt, and as he tried to roar, you guess what came up? It was nothing but what sounded like the sound of sheep and goat. It was like a bear. Now, but the beast became even more passionate and insistent and said, look, produce what you already have in you. Anyway, the lion thought, if I don't do this, I think I will really be mate to this beast. So the lion became angry and thought, okay, if this beast is insisting that I can actually roar, then let me give it all it takes. So the the young lion mustered all of the forces within itself, and there it comes. The very first time this young lion roared, of course. And the story went that this farmer and the what began to watch the lion, this older lion and the young lion, they began to roar for about 15 minutes. They just went on. It was like, right, I think I found my voice again. They began to roar and they went on. They just kept calling to themselves for several minutes. Now, something dramatic happened. The lion, the older lion, the beast, you know, turned and started to make its way into the forest. Now, as he went into the forest, the young lion was still a bit confused. Right, I don't know where I am now. Is it time to go home or is it time to make a definite change? So the the young lion, was a bit startled. He didn't know what to do. Now, as the older lion got into the forest, almost like his head just was just the only thing peeping out. Said it was almost as if he's saying, "Are you coming or are you staying back?" Now, the young lion was faced with a decision to go into the forest and forget about all the safety of the sheep pen, all of the free food, all the free water, all the nurturing of the farmer, or to go and make its own way, to go and find food or starve. Now, the lion had to make a decision. But the beast became more insistent. Are you coming? So this lion took after this beast, and that was the last time that the farmer saw him. The next time the farmer saw this lion, the lion was having one of the sheep in his mouth. In effect, the lion had become itself. The lion had found its voice. The lion had found its the functioning of its nature. Now, this is the real story here. The lion was always a lion, even though it was living a sheep life. However, when the lion met another lion who became insistent, calling on the lion nature in this lion, the lion had to make a decision and had to become itself or go back into domestication. So you become yourself through the nature you already have, which is the leadership spirit, and through nurture, which is the process of cultivating the spirit of leadership. So, and I can say this that nurture is perhaps more important as a factor of growth than nature because you already are who you are. But whether you and I will become what we were born to be is a different story. Again, there's this very quick story, an experience also that my mentor had. He went to Egypt and decided to go and visit. Of course, if you go to Egypt, you want to see the pyramids. So he went to the pyramids, and there's a way because of the embalming culture in the culture in the Egyptian culture. You preserve a lot of things apart from the mummies themselves. So you preserve some crops and other things. But this time, one of the curators brought a a seed of corn, which actually had been preserved for over 3,000 years. Now, the creator was telling the story that they brought one of those seeds and planted it, and the corn, the seed produced the kind of corn that they had never seen before in terms of its productivity, in terms of the amount of seedlings that were on that cob. So it has a lot of implications that I can see, which means no matter how long you have been hiding, no matter how much culture, history, and education had suppressed your nature, you can still become yourself once you come in contact with the right soil. In other words, the environment is actually more important than the seed. The seed may spend 5,000 years in that pyramid and never become a plant that will produce, or so that ears of corn. So nurture is actually more important in my eyes as a factor of growth and cultivation of the spirit of leadership. Don't forget, when we're talking about spirit, we are referring to the attitude, the mindset, the mentality, the philosophy of leadership. Now, of course, the compass is also true. Defective nurturing cancels the potentials that are embedded within the nature of a thing. So if a seed is not nurtured well, the potentials and the purpose actually will be cancelled. So imagine us planting um, a, a seed of corn inside a contaminated soil. The corn will never see the light of day. Even though it's a corn, it will go into decay, and that will be the end of that seed. But looking back at the story of the lion in the sheep pen, we see something that was actually apparent, and I call that borrowed belief. The beast believed that the young lion could recapture the attitude of a lion. It is not the manes or the long teeth and claws or the build that actually make lions. Lions are made through their mentality. If you go into the savannah and you see lions walking past elephants, the elephant is many times bigger, over 10 times bigger than the lion, maybe 10 times bigger than the lion. But the lion looks at the elephant and thinks, lunch. Whereas the elephant looks at the lion and thinks, oh, killer. So the elephant takes off, and lion thinks, well, let's chase. So the lion was able to recapture the attitude of lions through the belief, the persistent belief of the beast, the older lion, the lion who was already itself. Now, the belief of the beast did something to the lion. It sparked anger in the young lion. And I can say this, that sometimes, in fact, most of the time, for the potentials locked within to come to light, we need a dose of anger. We're not talking about destructive anger. We're talking about the internal drive to see the status quo change. So anger is actually the leader's best friend, because anger causes someone to rethink the status quo. Remember the young man who went away from home. When hunger, incidentally, hunger and anger don't they sound alike? When hunger set in, I think also, there's something happened in the mind, and he thought, look, I think I should change where I am now. The desire, the passion to change also set in. I will go and see my father. That is a result of, anger, or what you call passion. Now, anger is actually like passion, and that is the prerequisite for change and for producing change actions. Without passion, there is no incentive for change. Now, the young lion roared for the first time, and that's because of the borrowed belief from the older beast. Now, my question is this: what if that lion are choosing to go back to the sheep pen? The lion will have chosen domestication over discovery of its destiny. So, to become yourself, You must choose between welfare and self-realization and self-actualization. We call that self-discovery. To become yourself, you have to make a choice. You either remain in welfare, and or you go into a discovery of your personal leadership. The young lion met itself for the first time. You know, and I dare say that your future, my future, is not really ahead of you, but it is trapped within you. When we don't need to go ahead to be ahead, we need to go within to go forward. Your future is not ahead of you, but it is trapped within you, buried under the rubbles of wrong education, wrong training, defective influence of culture, and unhelpful history. Oftentimes you need someone to make you believe in your ability, in what is inside. Now, let's quickly look at what happens when somebody chooses welfare. When you choose welfare, domestication, if you like, you don't have to think for yourself. Someone else thinks for you. You don't have to direct your time or manage your own life. Someone else determines how your time is used. Sometimes we call that employment, don't we? When someone else determines your time. Um, there's nothing wrong in it ultimately, and as long as employment becomes the pathway towards deployment. So will it be employment for life, or will it be employment so that you can deploy yourself? Now, if one is choosing welfare, and choosing welfare, I think we do most of these things unconsciously. The moment we decide not to really become what we are, the moment we decide not to cultivate the spirit, the attitude of leadership within us, automatically we are making a choice, and that choice is a choice for domestication. When someone is choosing welfare, you don't have to provide for yourself. You can always depend on someone. It's a choice for dependency. You don't have to chart your course. Other people tell you what to do. Other people instruct your time. Other people, um, they just determine what you will do. So you take instructions always from other people rather than determining what you have to do for yourself. When someone is choosing welfare, the choice actually is a choice for domestication and subjugation. Now, let's quickly look at the converse, which is for me a positive one, and that's becoming yourself. Once you make a decision to cultivate the spirit of leadership, you have effectively made a decision to become yourself. Now, these are the things that happen, among others. You accept responsibility to think for yourself. You accept responsibility to manage yourself and direct your time. You accept responsibility also to help others, to actually help others to find their way. You accept responsibility to chart your own course, to say, look, this is what I have to do, and these are the steps I need to take, and I am taking them. As a matter of fact, you choose personal leadership. Now, very quickly, I'll talk about leadership aptitude. And it is summed in this statement that leadership is more about mindset rather than techniques. Most people, when they go to, maybe they do an MBA in leadership, like I did, or MBA or some kind of other leadership courses, they learn a lot of techniques, how to control people, how to make people, manipulate them, how to control them through incentives and other things. That is just a learning of techniques. That's not leadership, because leadership is foremost about mentality, the mindset of the leader, and is a leadership actually begins from a discovery of self. It starts with personal leadership. When you choose to find out who you truly are and commit to becoming it. That's when personal leadership is birthed. Now, How you think is more important than what you say or what you do. And this is talking about leadership attitude. Mentality is more important than ability in leadership. The way a leader thinks, the way the lion thinks, if you like, is what sets it apart from other animals in the savannah. Now, can I suggest to you that inside you, like me, is someone not yet known? We need to find you. Who really are you? Are you just an employee that, an accountant that, I mean, set figures, all right, and the like? Are you just an employee? I don't think so. There's more to you than you can imagine. So let me uh, present to us a definition of leadership which I've heard from my mentors. First from Dr. Miles Monroe, and second from Dr. John Maxwell. Of course, John Maxwell did say that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. I agree with that because every leadership bears some influence over people and over environment. But a question does come to mind, which is what kind of influence are we really talking about? Because if I have a gun or a big rod and I say, kneel down there, well, you are likely to kneel down not because you are influenced correctly by me, but because of fear. So I make you to do things, actually influence you, but out of a different kind of influence. So let me present a definition which I got from my mentor, and I think that really encapsulates what leadership is about as a broader definition and has elements in it that really brings this to light. Now, leadership is the capacity to influence through inspiration generated by passion, produced by vision, derived from conviction, which is born out of purpose. I'll say that again. Leadership is the capacity to influence through inspiration generated by passion, which is produced by vision that is derived from a conviction hinged on a knowledge and awareness of purpose. Now, to actually go on the journey to cultivate your spirit of leadership, you have to take this definition and turn it upside down to actually see the elements that are uh, actionable, that can actually be, be pursued. So I'm going to start from the very bottom, and that is purpose. A key element in leadership is the discovery of purpose. What is purpose? I think we've there's been many attempts to define this, and what I'm saying is not necessarily new. It's not even something that you've heard many times, but I'll just present it for thoughts, for further thinking. Now, purpose is the reason for birth determined by the author of life. So, purpose is simply the reason that necessitated the birth or the creation of a person, a thing, or an environment. Is the reason. In other words, if there's no reason, we don't need to do it. So you find out that the reason precedes the reality of that being, that individual, or that thing. So the reason actually precedes the arrival of the thing or the person. But now, as you as you become aware that actually there's something that I'm meant to do here, there's a reason for me. And as you begin to believe in that, you arrive at a state where you have a deep conviction about why you are, about your purpose. Now, conviction is actually a belief in your own significance. Is a belief in is a belief and an awareness of your value to the world. Is a conviction, is a belief about what you bring to the table, how you can add value to others to your environment, to your community, to your organization, or even to your nation. Now, a decision to make your ability your responsibility is what you call conviction, because as you become convicted about your purpose, you then say that you have to make your ability your responsibility. In other words, you refuse to complain about the situation of the environment, and you begin to say, I can do something about this. You know, and 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 you don't have to look too far. You actually are convinced that your potential is the raw material for your purpose. I'll say that again. Conviction actually takes root when you begin to see that your potential is the raw material for actualizing your purpose. Now, invariably, as you begin to see how your potential can be deployed to actualize your purpose, then something kicks in. We call that vision. So, vision is conviction showing up in pictures. I define this way. This is my own attempted definition, that vision is the crystallization of purpose in definite terms, showing or manifesting through mental pictures, either revealed or imagined. In other words, when you begin to see your vision in pictures or your purpose in pictures, you are seeing your vision. Okay, now as you begin to see your vision, the next thing is a drive to actually bring it to pass. We call that passion. Passion is the fuel of the leader. Fuel is the fuel of the leader. Passion is a willingness to sacrifice for what you are convicted by and what you see in pictures. Conviction almost sounds like what happens in the law court when someone is convicted and say, well, you have to serve a time. Now, conviction actually locks you up. It sentences you to the purpose of your life. It's what drives you to say, I have to go on a mission to do this. Now, passion is the fuel that you need for that journey, because without passion, um, you don't have authenticity. When your passion gains expression, then people begin to see it and they think, right, I think this individual is actually onto something. There's something that this person really is about to do. So passion actually generates authenticity and generates trust in people. People begin to trust you because your passion actually uh, brings about a drive. In fact, your passion sets you on the mission. Your passion launches the mission, which is actually the deployment of yourself to bring about what you're seeing in pictures. So passion makes people trust you ultimately. And when people see that you are willing to go the extra mile, to sacrifice, even to to give up in order to go up as far as your vision is concerned, then they actually begin to be inspired by you. So you see that inspiration actually is when people actually believes in you enough to come alongside you to accomplish the vision that you see. So your willingness to sacrifice for your conviction inspires other people. And when people are inspired by you, then they submit their authority to you. What that means is this. They say, okay, we actually believe what you are doing and we are willing to do it with you. These people also have their own purposes for life, but they see a connection between their purposes and your own vision. So people don't actually come to the leader because of the vision. People come to the leader because of his passion. So your passion becomes a magnet. Your passion invokes the law of magnet, which attracts people to your cause. This is when people begin to say, yeah, we would even submit our resources to help you see that your cause comes to pass. Now, when people begin to come to you in that manner, and when you begin to attract people in that fashion, then actually they call you a leader. So leadership is actually an act of the followers, not really an act of the leader. Leadership is an act of the followers. Leadership is an act, is people choosing to honor your drive to achieve the purpose of your heart. So, that is taking that definition and putting it into in context as far as leadership is concerned. So you see that leadership is is the capacity to influence through inspiration. We say through inspiration because without inspiration, leadership becomes corrupted. Leadership becomes contaminated. The moment a leader begins to chase after people to make them follow him, then automatically you have to you have to use some kind of thing to attract them. So you become manipulative or you become coercive. But true leaders do not actually chase after people. True leaders pursue the vision in their heart, they pursue their passion, and other people are attracted to that vision. So, yes, you hear Jesus say, "Follow me, and I will make you a fishers of men." Right. Now, when you say follow me, it is still up to the people to follow you. They have to choose to follow you. So, leadership, true leadership, is devoid of coercion and is devoid of manipulation. So, now you can see that everyone is a leader because everyone has a reason for birth. Everyone has a reason for being. There's a reason for everyone, apparently. Everyone has a purpose for life. Now, because of that, the choice to go after your conviction. In other words, I know why I am, and then I decide to bring to pass what I'm convicted by. I'm convinced that I have to do this. Conviction is really when you begin to talk like this. I have to do this. I'm obligated to do this. That is conviction. So everybody has capacity to cultivate their vision through a sense of conviction, which begins to manifest in pictures, begins to show up in pictures. Now, those pictures eventually, because you begin to see it and it's all you see, it generates a passion for actualization within you. And when that is in place and you begin indeed to fall to push it, this is the reason why leaders, they tend to walk alone for a season, and in time, people begin to get attracted. But before they are attracted, they first sometimes uh, abuse the leader. They first say, "No, we don't know what's about. I think it's probably a madman," you know. But as you continue, fueled by your passion, invariably people begin to see the result of your passion, and they say, "Well, maybe he's up to something after all. I think, well, let's give him a chance." And then they begin to say, "Let's see how we can come along." So that's what we're talking about. That is leadership coming through all of those elements. But the true source of leadership is inspiration. Inspiration that eliminates manipulation and coercion. So everyone is a leader, but over their gifts, not over their people. When I said the other time that when you choose to make your potential your the raw material for your purpose, then a leader is born. When you choose to make your ability your responsibility, then a leader is born. Now, this really has nothing to do with people initially, but eventually it begins to attract people because, yes, A leader may walk alone for a season, but a leader will not walk alone for every season. Okay. So everyone is a leader, not over people. The problem is that people we tend to pursue people first. No, the thing to do is to pursue the conviction in your heart. And when I say that, I'm aware of the kind of cultures that produce us, especially people of African origin. You know, people say don't the culture gravitates against even believing your conviction, and you think, no, no, take it easy. Is it only you and all that? That sort of thing. I understand, but submission to that criticism will be the graveyard of a leader. To stand apart and become the leader you're born to be, you must make a decision to follow through on your conviction. Your conviction is simply, being fully persuaded about what you're born to do. I think is what we call faith, isn't it? A conviction. So faith is the conviction of things hoped for. The vision has not yet materialized, but you are convinced that it will. I think we call it faith. That's what it is. So that is a fundamental ingredient when it comes to leadership. And of course, we're talking about kingdom leadership. All that we do on this platform has to do with kingdom leadership, which is the original perspective on the subject of leadership. And that's why, when we say this, that we often say that everyone is a leader, not over people, but in their areas of gifting. You know, we say not over people because just go back to the original script. Let them have dominion over, number one, the fish of the sea, number two, the birds of the air, number three, the beasts of the field, number four, over everything that moves and creeps upon the face of the earth. There is no human there. There is no human that I know with scales or slimy body. There is no human being that I know that flies in the air. There is no human being that I know that walks on four legs. There is no human being that I know that crawls on the face of the earth. So, the human is totally removed from there. As a matter of fact, that statement is said to all humans. So, if it is said to all humans, then where is the room for a human to dominate the other? I think that actually came about through the fall from leadership dominion of the Adamic race. So, and the desire of God really is to get everyone back into where they're falling from. You know, mankind did not fall from heaven, as we often say. Mankind fell from leadership dominion over earth. Right? So, your prerogative, as I say, when we say everyone is a leader, your prerogative is to lead yourself to discover, to develop, to refine, and to serve your gift. So you find that leadership is actually service. When we talk about kingdom leadership, we are talking about the decision to serve other people. But when I say service, the thing to serve is what you are giving. What you are giving is the ingredient, is the thing to serve. You cannot borrow a service. You cannot borrow something to serve. Now, when I'm talking this way, I'm referring to one thing. Everyone has a gift. There is a gift in everyone, which is given for the benefit of others. Now, the decision to produce the best version of that gift and serve it to people is really what we call personal leadership. Again, you see that leadership actually has to do with your gift, not about people. A decision to discover, develop, refine until you produce the best version of that gift for the service of people is what we call leadership. If leadership were to be about oneself, what I can get, then that would be defective leadership. As a matter of fact, I would not even call that leadership at all. That would be dictatorship, if you like, or that would be malevolence, or malevolence, the opposite of benevolence. That would be using people to advance yourself. The only sort of people that do that are not leaders. They don't belong in leadership. They should resign and go to home. Okay, so we're rounding up, and I want to just put it to bed that leadership really is the discovery of self. True leadership needs the permission of others to influence them. You know, if I cannot influence you by your permission, through your permission, why should I? Any other way will be a violation, a violation of your authority. And talking about authority, every human comes with authority. Let me define that very quickly. Authority is the privilege, is the prerogative that you have to become who you are and to deploy yourself in the service of your gift, given by the author of life. You know, authority is always, or it is all the time, originates from an author, as someone who authors you, and therefore only that person can give you authority to become yourself. So each individual comes with authority to become themselves, which has nothing to do with any other person. However, that authority is an authority to serve other people. So you can make a decision to actually deploy yourself using your authority to deploy your purpose. So purpose, a reason for being, comes with authority to serve it. So you have your authority, as I do. As a matter of fact, everything created comes with authority. Fire has authority to burn. Water has authority to flow. You know, um, a rock has authority to be heavy. Everything comes with authorization to release their purpose. But whether that authority will be used or not, or whether it will be used correctly or